I want to welcome everyone to our executive committee meeting for Brooklyn Community Board 9 for May 2026. This is our next to last meeting for the year. The time is now, Madam Secretary, 7:10 p.m. Okay. I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. As I said, so we have a lot of things, a lot of great work that's been done by the board, a lot of things that are in flight, a lot of things we're trying to land, and plans that we're also making for the next board year, just to continue the great work that's happening. All right. So we have a number of things we want to do, a number of catch-up items. We're going to go straight into the committee reports at this time. Do we have a report for Parks? Do you have a report?
Oh, just for a moment,
Do you need a moment or want to come back?
yeah, come back.
Okay. Lance, do you have a report?
Sure. Okay, so we had a presentation from a developer who wants to rezone a commercial site on Utica Avenue. It's the Ace Hardware at 600 Utica. They're thinking about either a 14 to 15 story building with 132 apartments, or a 12 to 13 story building with 125 apartments, 32 affordable. In both cases, they were proposing 60% AMI, and they're saying that the units would be mostly studios and one bedrooms. The market rate rent would be around $2,700 a month on average. No parking is required or proposed, they're saying, because it's well served by transit. And there would be ground floor retail with rents at approximately $35 per square foot per year. They're saying that they don't know of any environmental contaminants. The site has been used as a hardware store for many years, but they will go through the environmental review and clean up if anything is found. They're pretty early in the process. They haven't submitted a pre-application statement to city planning yet. They're hoping to meet with Councilmember Mealy. They haven't yet. And they assured us it's not going to certify and start the ULURP process before next fall. So the community residents who live near there were very adamant that they wanted a much lower building, nothing taller than 6 stories, because there's 2-story homes behind it. They don't want to be overshadowed. They also want parking, because this is a 2-fare zone. The subway doesn't really run there, even though there's a bus. They want family-sized units, not one bedrooms and studios, because they feel like people would be transient. And of course, given everything that's been going on, they suspected, could it be turned into a shelter? The developer said no, it's going to be a regular residential building. We requested that CB9, we actually discussed it last time as well. There was extensive discussion of what kind of development people would like to see in the area. So we're requesting that the office send them the minutes and the link to the video of the April meeting. And he also promised that he would send us some information about another rezoning they did on Coyle Street in Sheepshead Bay. He claims they worked with the community closely and the community board is very happy with the design outcome, but they actually haven't built the project yet, so it remains to be seen. And I think Alicia was very skeptical that they were going to hang on to the site after rezoning, that they might not just flip it. But he says, the owner is the owner of the Ace Hardware. They're in the community. They want to work with the community. So he's going to take the feedback back to the owners. What else? Okay, we talked about ULURP a little bit again. Again, these are the ballot measures. They're expected to do, City Planning Commission is expected to do additional rulemaking around this to kind of flesh that out. And obviously it's a concern because developers can ask for up to a 30% increase in density in the higher density districts. And this is conflicting with City of Yes, because under City of Yes, they could do that, but all of the additional floor area was supposed to be affordable at 60% of AMI. But there's nothing in these new rules that says that what the upzoning that they're requesting has to be affordable. And in the lower density districts, anybody can ask for an increase up to 2.0 floor area, which means that coming from some districts, that's like 2 to 4 times what they're allowed to build now. So that's actually huge, even though they're limited to 45 feet tall. So people felt like we might need to have a town hall to discuss whether there might be some circumstances where people would want to allow upzoning requests and what those would be, what conditions we would wanna put on it. They were also pretty clear, we have a zoning framework that says any upzonings require public benefit, which could include affordable housing, and we don't wanna change this. And what else? Okay, so then we had we discussed the town hall for the Ramada Inn shelter. It was packed, about 400 people came out. I think almost all of the speakers were against the shelter and the way that it was being placed in the community without a lot of notice or transparency about why the site was chosen. And so there was a motion to send a letter to the Department of Social Services to do a seeker analysis, that's a city environmental quality review, to determine the impact that it will have on the other existing shelters in the vicinity, including a family shelter on Rogers and domestic violence shelter nearby, the senior center next door, and the schools in the community. So I guess Dante is gonna do that. Then we passed another motion to update our zoning framework with some of these hot topics, including fair share. Basically, one of the issues with fair share for us is that it only includes city facilities, but we have some very big state funded and state sponsored facilities on state land at Vital Brooklyn that are all supportive housing and homeless shelters. So that's not being included in the fair share analysis. And I remember from years ago, there was one on Bedford near Sterling that they said was like released sex offenders, and people were really upset about that, but then they were saying since it was a state facility, it wouldn't go through ULURP and there was nothing the community board could do about it. So these things should be included in the fair share analysis. It doesn't, same thing with federal facilities. It doesn't really matter to our community what level of government is funding it. It shouldn't become a loophole. And we ask that our annual district needs statement have the beds to population ratio analysis for residential facilities, because it's very hard to get it out of the city. The city's supposed to do it, they don't apparently, so if we can do that at the district level, that helps. And in terms of environmental review, we want them to be cumulative, and we want it to be anytime a cumulative total of 300 or more units is built within a half-mile radius of any new development since the last comprehensive environmental review in that radius, because we have a ton of as of right development that never gets looked at, and then we also have all of these rezonings that might be 200, 300 units, and it's not really, each one is not enough on its own to trigger environmental impacts, but the cumulative total of all of them certainly is enough, and we just don't get the resources and the mitigation that we need. So that's it for me.
So in terms of action items, I think one of them you said was the letter.
Yes.
So Dante, district office will take care of that, they'll send those letters out.
Oh, yes, and they also want Councilmember Neely to come to a meeting, the next meeting, or I don't know, we have to schedule it with her, to discuss the 600 Utica Avenue zone, because that site is in her district.
Okay, we can send the invitation on the committee's behalf. Okay, so that's fine. So you said there's an update to the zoning framework, so there's text that we want to approve, or?
Yes. I have it in minutes that we want to add to our zoning framework.
Okay. All right, let me ask this, is it possible, would you be able to present, can you do a quick presentation tomorrow? Would it be possible to do a quick presentation, we do the vote in June, or is there a time sensitivity?
No, we can do it in June as well. One of the reasons that the cumulative environmental review issue came up is because they're talking about seeker reform at the state level, and they actually want to cut off seeker for any development that's under 500 units in the denser areas like our district, which that's fine if you're in some village upstate that only ever gets 500 units once every 20 years, but we get 500 units all the time, and why shouldn't we get a review anytime we get 500 units? Or 300 units, so that's why, I don't think at this point that it's going to affect any negotiations, but it's up to you. Obviously in June we're voting, it's up to you whether you think it's better this month or next.
Yeah, and the reason why I say that, just for the exam, I think that part of what we've seen for the board is sometimes when they get the material, especially, we're gonna be in a very tight time frame because we're not gonna get the material until tomorrow. So we've had it late and the board's gonna be right there.
Yeah.
A lot of times people get to digest it and there's more questions than anything else. So at least by introducing the question, they get the opportunity to see that this is the topic that's being discussed, and they get a chance to review it, come to the land use meeting for the June meeting as well, ask any additional questions, and then I think, we'll
So
find a
you
better
want me to
decision.
do the presentation this
Do-
meeting
yeah.
and then the vote next?
Correct.
Okay.
We'll bifurcate. So that way, it gives the board an opportunity to digest it, come to the committee meetings, and encourage us to come to the committee meeting if you have additional questions, and hopefully it'll go a lot faster in June. And I want us to definitely keep that in mind because June is gonna be a packed, so it's always ends up being packed, so we just wanna make sure any questions are clear.
I'm sorry, Chris, for being late. Could you just brief me on what was said, if you don't mind?
We just did the land use review. So in terms of action items that we noted, there's the letter to the agencies. That's gonna be referred to the district manager. He's gonna send those letters requesting those studies be done.
You don't need to have the board's approval in order to send that letter requesting.
No, we're requesting something. I mean, there's nothing controversial, we're requesting information.
Okay, and so when will that letter be given, so I can get a copy of it, if you don't mind?
I'm not sure, I defer to the district manager. I don't know what's scheduled.
Is Dante here? Dante?
Oh, thanks for
Hi, how you doing? Great meeting you did last week. I just wanted to congratulate you. Do you know when?
We'll send out the letter tomorrow.
Okay, good. Is
I got
it
it.
possible you could CC me?
Yeah, I got you. We printed it out, so that language is up there.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
thank you, thank you. And there was something else that you had mentioned that was going to be presented? Is it-
There was, yes, the zoning framework that was voted on. So what we're going to do is we're gonna do a presentation. We have requested the chair to do a presentation on tomorrow very quickly. But we're gonna defer any votes on it, just so it gives the board an opportunity to chew on it, ask any questions, go to the subsequent land use meeting in case there's any other conversation, discussion. Because we wanna make sure it's clear for the board as well by the time it gets, it's just too short a time where I think there'll be probably more questions than anything
And
else.
the framework will be on the menu tomorrow, so that the public can see the framework?
Yeah, I believe so. Because it's in the minutes, right?
The framework itself,
Yes.
I mean.
Well, the framework is on.
The additions that you made.
It's on the
The
website.
additions that are being.
Well, the
Oh,
framework is
yeah.
there, the additions are in the minutes, so
Yes.
those will be discussed and that'll be presented, and that'll be presented again in June.
Can I see a copy of those minutes, please?
Yeah, there's
There you go, up here. All right, and then the last piece was a request for Councilmember Muley to come present to the next land use meeting.
Yes, and that, again, that doesn't need to go in front of the board.
No, that's
But
fine.
that's something that Dante is going to do as
He's
well.
gonna place the request of the agency.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, I broke out a lot of time. Questions from the exec? Kat, you have any questions?
I do, but I don't think I can process them right now.
Fair enough. Mr. Alvarado, you have any questions?
No, no questions.
Please.
No questions.
Linda, any questions? No worries. Master, any questions, Master?
No, no questions.
Okay, we're gonna continue on then. We have that one item noted for the parks.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Basically, we had our meeting last week, and we had a presentation from Prospect Park Zoo, reporting and updating them all the what happened since the flood. They are ready, they are back to full operation. So they promise us. So we asked for a lot more of the way to integrate the community, what's happening in the zoo, and then you really give a great description of everything that's happening in the zoo. So our suggestion was to really open the zoo a lot more to seniors and adults, and this is something they're going to look into. So they give us a lot of information concerning. I mean, people are working in the zoo, but there's one question I forgot to ask: how many people from our community are employed? But they have a very nice summer programs. A lot of the youth that participate in this community. So we want to expand. So our suggestion was to get a lot of some other focused programming, and even try to integrate local food vendors in the zoo. Okay, and they say they're going to look into that because one of the things they've done for adult was they had some kind of a mocktail event at the zoo. So we are looking forward what we asked for and what we try to have each of those institutions to have a community about 9 family a community day event, design a day. So we invite the whole community to come and do that. So they are very open to this particular idea and so they'll get back to us primarily. So this was a great, and they also will be participating in our resource fair because every presentation we ask them to do that. As a matter of fact, the committee wants it to be anytime somebody comes, no matter what time of the year, we gotta tell them we expect you to be at a community resource fair to participate. So
Strong arm there.
so yes, I mean they're getting a lot of our tax money, so some of it should come back.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
that's
I
the
like
same.
I like it.
So that's the same thing when we came in. We told them, hey, you're getting all that tax, we even know you're way downtown, but you gotta bring us in. You gotta bring for the community. So we talk about a little bit about what's happening with the Major Owens in terms of encouraging people to apply to become part of the advisory board. The application is now open. So
So it's advisory board for who again?
for people in to apply to become members of the advisory board because the application is now open.
Major Owens.
For Major Owens.
Owens.
Yes. The more people from our community, but I think it's better that way because I use Major Owens myself. There's a lot of I swim. The times I limited, you want to have a lot more space available, time available for the community to participate. I mean, the price they offer for community partner is really good, $20 a month, and I think one of the greatest bargain there is in terms of having access to a basketball court, a small, some people think the gym is a little small, but still, it's better than nothing. So that's one of the things we've been pushing too. So, but from then, we are looking forward to next year. We're looking at a music summit in collaboration with the arts department of Medgar Evers College. We feel this is the college is there, but we don't feel that college in the community. So at our town hall, I did approach the president of Medgar Evers and spoke about that. So we're going to do follow up and planning for next year.
But don't they do the summer series of jazz? Are they still
No.
doing that? Oh.
Now there's nothing going for Medgar Evers. Lots can be done. They have the resources there. But I don't think people have been asking them to really get involved within the community.
That's gonna be the key. We'll finish the report. I do have a comment on that. But
Right. And we're talking about a sports summit. We've been talking about that. Not only within Community Board 9, but also between all the different community board, like similar to what the effort we did with the Open Parks and Conference, we get at least all 18 community board involved and organize something like that. And also, like I said, we're talking about next year, there's only June left. We do our parks, 2 parks, we're planning to do with the parks too, where we go a group of people on a Saturday and we visit every park and see and assess what happened. We have developed a park assessment tool. Hopefully I can get that translated into an app where you go, you take a picture, this is something happening in the park, you take a picture and you send it to Dante, you send it to 311, you send it to the district manager, the park manager in that area. It's already in an Excel sheet where that information is, but I think it is something that we can transfer into an app. I know Vital, the last
There's
Vital
Vital Parks, there's some.
Vital Parks did something similar, but I don't think they have anything where you send out a report to various people that need to know when something is happening in the park.
Okay.
For example, at Dodger Playground, there's been a pile
Right.
of that been sitting there for years, and people started to use it as a place to bring their dog. Because of so that's one of the things. So we want to be able to allow the community to be able to report situations in the park very quickly, very instantly, and in that way, one app can send it automatically to all these people, the 311, the district manager, and the area manager, the parks area manager, or even the board commissioner.
So let's, just a quick note on that one, let's have another conversation, perhaps we need to speak with Parks directly
Right,
to say, listen, how do we create the linkage?
right,
I don't see why Parks, especially since they did all the effort for Vital Parks already,
right.
there might just be another evolution, that just might be a bridge that they can build to that one. Or, I've seen some pretty good work come out of this office as well, so I'm not sure, I don't wanna volunteer Ethan or Dante to say, oh, let's build a connector and that's it, but I think it's something that this is a good idea, we should bring to them and say, listen, maybe put that on the burner for them.
Right.
Alright, I'm sorry, continue.
No, the last thing I want to talk about is the Arts and Music Summit, trying to get a day where we'll meet with the different music venue that's there, or people that are doing theater, visual arts, all the galleries. We have 2 or 3 galleries within this community board line. Come and sit together at Medcavers and the other department that we like to do. And the only things we really pushed for was that the committee would like to put a resolution for next month for hybrid meeting.
For what?
For what?
Hybrid meeting.
Hybrid meetings, so
Which means-
virtual meetings.
Meeting where people that cannot be there in person to be able via access the technology have evolved in such a way so they could vote. Because right now people can attend to Zoom, for example, but they cannot. They are marked as absent. But we're gonna work and put together a resolution asking for that. And this is something I'm going to urge for every committee.
So you want hybrid meeting for committees?
For committees, right?
Committee meetings?
Committees.
Yeah.
Committee meetings.
I'm not sure if that's legal. And
No, I'm not
meetings
sure that's
are-
legal. Well, I know, we wanna, you never had to ask. Maybe we have to force it all the way up to
This-
Albany.
Let me just on that point very quickly. There are some legal implications with it. I know that the open meetings law, the revised open meetings law was set to sunset this June. So I know that at the Brooklyn Borough Board, we had actually put a proposal, a written resolution saying, listen, we need to reauthorize it, but we need to put funding into it, we need to make sure that there's appropriate support, technology upgrades, to make sure that the policy makes sense. But I think most of the boards have reported that we were not satisfied with the way, I think that the legislature the last time said, oh, listen, let's just kind of redo electronic meetings, but they didn't really think it all the way through. So some of the restrictions they put on there didn't make sense. So some of what we're waiting for is the budget to pass, so we can kind of figure out what they did, if they actually put language in for that. Yeah, but to the point of hybrid meetings, right now as it stands, probably not legal, I don't know.
I
It
know
might
it's
be
not
something-
legal now, we
Right.
want it
Yeah.
to change.
No, but it's a good conversation, I think we should continue, I don't know what's gonna happen as of this budget cycle, but I think it's something good for the board to continue, to think about. And I've always said it from the perspective of, we don't want the board to continue, or the state to continue doing things the same way we did 30 years ago. there is technology, there's things that we can do that improve it, that increase access, allow for transparency, allow for participation. We want to be smart about it, obviously, but we should be looking at those things. It only makes sense for in terms of better government. Okay, so there's no action items for this month?
No.
That's
the end of my
Can I
report.
ask a question?
Ask you very quickly, yeah.
What were you asking as far as the zoo regarding seniors?
Regarding seniors,
Yeah, she said that you were asking for something from them.
no, we would like for the zoo to open the park for seniors activities.
You wanted them to do what?
To like for seniors to participate in the zoo.
And how?
I mean by visiting the zoo, by having activity for adults and for
Oh, okay.
seniors. Like I know, for example, the Health and Social Safety Committee, they usually allow the seniors party at different locations.
Mm.
So you could do something like that at the zoo. Okay? So get people into this institution.
Well, you
Because
could do
people are
it.
coming from all over and we are close by and a lot of us are not going in it. Okay.
I mean, doing something also like with seniors and their grandchildren, doing
Yeah.
their seniors and grandchildren.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that, because obviously.
Well, I take my granddaughter to the zoo. That's what I'm doing.
Exactly.
So we could have
But then it's not senior day, it's seniors and grandchildren.
seniors
Right,
and
the senior and grandchild.
They want that day without.
you know? Right. And where there'll be discounts for the seniors to get in.
That's the whole idea.
you know,
No, when they
because-
said community board night day, at a reduced rate, allow people to participate.
Exactly.
That automatically includes that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
How's it going? Report for this?
Our report is quick.
Sure.
Good evening, everyone. We had a short meeting, we didn't have quorum, but the things that we came up with is that next month we would like, next month at our last meeting, we would like to go month by month for the 2026-2027 period to see what presentations we would like to have. We want to figure it out this year as opposed to waiting until September and then not being able to book anyone, not being able to plan ahead. Because we see what happened this year in the sense that all the different things that just came up on us and it was just like, oh, okay, well, we can't do this because of time constraints. So we want to do that, make a list of the presentations that we would like to have next year, or just really just work on the agenda for next year as opposed to having a month by month agenda where we don't know, we can't plan ahead because there are things that just come up on us like the shelters, the everything, and it doesn't work for us to just wait until the month before to work on something.
So,
So that's it.
all right. Any questions for the housing chair?
Do you have any idea of like what, did you guys start discussing like what it is that you guys wanna see for next year's agenda?
Like maybe someone who deals with taxes and liens, have them come in and then explain to people how they can prevent deed theft. What are the papers that people need in their homes? So that when someone says, oh, this is what I own, and it's like, no, you don't. You know, and how do you prevent that? How do you pass on your property from someone, like there are people in the neighborhood who don't have anyone to pass it on to. So then, or anyone to even look at their paperwork for them to say, hey, you know, this is what you should put in place. So if we have a guest like that, someone who can come in and talk about that. Then came across someone in the community. She's having issues that are so bad in her housing that she moved out of her apartment and has a relative staying there because the issues that she's having with her landlord are so much that she just can't deal with it. Like, well, then we'll talk.
That's part of the reason why I asked. I know Felice had sent a resource about
Yeah.
deed theft and we had chatted about that and that was something that I was gonna also like suggest bring up since so many of us have faced a lot of like landlord issue. Maybe bringing in like legal
deed theft,
aid society as one of the speakers.
taxes, wills, trusts, estates, somebody month by month. And even if it's not at the meeting, like even if we can get someone who could come like during the general meeting, just a 10-minute, just to get it in people's heads, this is something that you need to do, like put in place. But that's one of the things that we're going to like.
Any questions? All right, just a couple of quick notes. One, I did want to take the opportunity to thank our treasurer who actually stepped into the role as the chair of housing.
I was
So
like, who's the chair? Sorry, yeah.
I know a
yeah,
lot of hats, a lot of
I'm so
hats.
sorry.
But I did want to express my gratitude because I know you jumped in when you really needed somebody, and it's great to hear that.
Jumped?
Yeah.
No.
Push.
Okay, yes, I
Tomatoes.
know. It's a better word.
No, and I'm glad, I'm glad that you have the committee thinking in that way, because I think it's great for us to hear, all together. Because I think it's an idea that for all the committees we should think of, where we're landing the plane for some things, but we want to make sure things are still in flight, that we have some momentum, and we're capturing those things, thinking ahead. So instead of going on a month-to-month basis, perhaps it is better to say, what is the agenda for the next 10 months?
Yeah, there are just too many things.
Absolutely.
Just too many things.
Absolutely, and I know there's a lot that's going to learn, and I think we want to continue doing that. And even if we're able to all the committees as well, if there are certain things that you want to do, if we can start compiling that, because I know of certain resources, like for example, I know Mr. Umar, you mentioned about partnerships with Medgar Evers College. There's a ton of stuff that comes out of there, and there might even be a lot of resources. Like for example, I know when you mentioned the deed theft, Medgar Evers College has this, I think the Ralph Bunche W.B. Du Bois Center. They are always doing programs like that where they have either they'll have free help that'll help you with wills, trusts, estates, and stuff like that, or they will talk about deed theft. So there are things that we don't necessarily have to recreate the wheel, or maybe this is an opportunity for us to create the partnership. Medgar is right here. I mean, and we'll support them and we'll push everything out until them,
Yeah, they have that right justice center.
Absolutely.
That Ms. Simmons used to
Exactly.
before she retired,
So
so there's a lot of resources to that.
So they absolutely do. So it's like
Chapter 32, something like that.
Not that I know
but it's good for us probably to set up and just reinforce that relationship with Medgar. It's a college right here in our district, especially when we have conversations about education. And as a matter of fact, the president did come to our education town hall the other month. So she's fully invested in terms of making sure that the college is here and is a partner. So we should think about what things would we want to partner with, or if they're doing things, how do we push that and publicize that. But again, going back to your point, thank you for that, and I just encourage all the committees, let's think long range. There's a lot of great work that's done. Let's figure out how do we kind of say, listen, can we look holistically at this, so that way, Dante doesn't have to chase you for an agenda every month. The agenda's already kind of set. And maybe they're just certain pieces that, okay, well, there'll be a presentation on this scheduled, and the conversation will happen. And then if there are the one-offs or the things that are more recent, we can discuss, you put those on the agenda as you need to. Okay, all right, thank you very much for that again. We have transportation.
Hey, good evening.
Evening.
I'm Andrew. I'm filling in for Ethan. I don't think he can make it tonight. So I'll recap the minutes, and then we have one voting item that we want to put before the full board tomorrow. So at our last week meeting, we discussed a couple of things, including a plan for Rochester Avenue between Fulton Street and East New York Avenue, which was presented to Community Board 8 but never came to Community Board 9. The majority of the work is street calming and traffic calming and intersection calming at a variety of locations, almost 30, only 5 of which are in our district by Lincoln Terrace Park. We would request that the DOT come to talk to us about that before they implement it. Their timeline said June of 2025. It's 2026. It could happen. It probably is still on the books somewhere. We just want to be sure that we're following the ball on that. The other thing that we discussed was some administrative stuff. We have these recurring, machinations. We want to get inside the mind of DOT to find out why they prioritize some projects over others. We can never get a good answer out of them. It's a perennial thing. We want to improve our process and our communications with DOT, so that's something that we can talk about long-term strategizing how to do that. And then for our voting item, we've been having a recurring segment of our agenda for the last couple of months, probably 4 or 5 months at this point, about the Brooklyn Bus Network redesign, which was originally presented in 2023. It was put on pause in 2025, and it may be reinstituted in a draft plan for more review and more comment as early as this summer when we are not in session. So we want to get a proposal out or have some communication from the CB officially that we can talk to MTA when they're back in session and thinking about this plan. I will read. It reads sort of like there's sort of general principles. I think we invite a lot of people over to this. We got a lot of really specific comments. There's an online map that you can basically pinpoint and like plot specific issues that you have. Like, this is my bus stop. Please don't take it away. But in order to get this through and have engender better conversations, we have pretty broad points. The first of which is that we should optimize the network redesign to reduce passenger journey times. The MTA's stated goal right now is to speed up buses, which is great. But passenger journey time, the time it takes for you to leave your door and end up at your destination, should be the driving force. Bus speed is maybe one part of that, but it is not the only part of that. Second, improvements to passenger environments. There's a lot of bus shelters in this neighborhood that are lacking, and there's a lot of bus stops that don't have shelters, even though people wait at them for a very long time in the sun, in the wind, and the rain. Third is the enablement of better east-west travel in the district. We currently do not have an east-west bus route, and the design of the redesign actually does propose one, but it's a rush hour weekday only service. So we would love to talk more about why that was selected and what we could do to sort of facilitate and improve service there. Fourth is the enhanced frequency of existing routes on nights and weekends generally. We see a lot of times that service patterns change and people are not able to respond or not able to make the best decision or get where they need to be adequately. Fifth is optimizing bus to subway connections and connectivity. There's a couple instances in the proposed redesign where like a bus will just end sort of in the middle of the street grid, which is fine for the bus driver. He can make a quick, easy U-turn and start going back the other way, but it's a missed opportunity to connect to a nearby train station and get people, further through the city. Sixth is we have a general principle that we'd like to talk to the MTA about. Currently, we believe that bus stop spacing should be no more than 1,200 feet between stops, which is about 5 or 6 street-to-street blocks, with a preference for average stop distances of 1,000 feet or less. So hard cap 12, preference for 1,000 feet or less. So that would be 4 or 5 street-to-street blocks between stops.
What is it?
Currently, it's like 870 citywide. They don't have aggregate. They only have the aggregate data. They don't have like the district. And then
Can you
lastly,
explain that a little bit, please?
sure.
In
So
layman's terms.
the Brooklyn Bus Network redesign is proposing to eliminate a lot of bus stops. That is the preliminary way that they want to speed up buses, is get rid of bus stops.
Which is horrible.
Like, if there's one where on Sullivan where they would be removing a stop, and on Sullivan and Washington, and the two next ones are each like there's one that's like 600 feet this way and there's one that's 800 feet that way. So now the next closest stops are like 1,600 feet walking distance from each other, which is a little more than a quarter mile. It's a lot to go if you're caught between there.
And if you're a senior.
Exactly. So that's our guiding principle that we'd like to stick to. We want to be cooperative enough, but very firm that we cannot have these huge gaps in service. And then the last bullet, number 7, is we ask respectfully for consultation between the MTA, New York City DOT, and the community board regarding any curb space that is made available by the removal or consolidation of these stops. Our neighborhood has about 120 bus stops, and the MTA wants to remove about 1/3. I don't know if they're actually going to remove 1/3, but that's a lot of potential parking spots, city bike docks, parklets, like anything. Like, we want to be part of that conversation because they're not thinking about the day after yet. That's the proposal.
Has
I would say
this
good
committee performed the hearing so that the community can come and first know about these potential changes and then also give their input?
This has been a standing item on our agenda since November
That's
of
not the
2020.
question that I asked.
This one. Before we do that, I want him to finish. We'll have the
I thought it was
exec go.
finished.
I think I'm finished.
Well, but I also need the exec to ask the questions and we'll.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so those are the points that you have with respect to that?
Yes, we have more text, very verby document,
Okay.
but
No,
that's the bullet points.
No, that's fine. Okay, let's go questions from the exec first. I have one point and then we'll take your question. Kat, you have questions?
Are we gonna vote on those priority schools, such as the school that's
Yes, so MS 81 and then, God, I forget off the top of my head. We didn't pass any motion or voting item on that, but it does come up all the time about getting DOT in the room to explain what Safe Streets for Schools is and how that does or does not overlap with the Vision Zero priority network, how they allocate funding, like that's a huge question. And we actually, I don't know if we know enough to even start and accuse them of something.
Priority though. This is priority under DOT.
What's a priority?
Those two schools that they wanna make safe, the school that we attend, I don't have the address in front of me, but there are two schools that state priority. And one of them is a school that we attend our meetings.
61, MS 61.
And there's another school, so I don't understand why are they removing funds or not doing the protective measures of these schools. I don't understand, why is that a problem when the state's is a priority under DOT?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, and we bring this up almost every meeting. You're there, you got great attendance.
Right, but that's just, that we need an answer to that, I don't
Yeah.
understand.
I mean, we
That's what
could
DOT would have to.
we could send a letter to request that DOT show up. We do this,
Right.
almost every month without fail.
Okay, and then one other thing is Washington Avenue, that's also a hot topic.
Yes. So I don't think that there's any motion that we made at last week's meeting, but again, you're talking about a resolution that was passed by the full board in 2023
Correct.
and re-upped in 2024, 2025 to ask like what's the status on Washington Avenue calming and traffic camera enforcement, right? That's what it, okay.
Right, so what are we gonna,
Well, let me ask this. Dante, could you bump this back up with DOT and with Councilmember Hudson? Let's bump this up and just say what's going on, what's the movement, what are we looking at doing? Because we've already talked about this, as you said, for a couple of years. Is there a plan for this?
Sure
Is there
there
a
is.
budget that's required? What do we need to do? And especially if it's a budget question, then it should be on Councilmember Hudson's list. And she should make it one of the budget priorities when they have the budget conversations, which have already started for the city as well, so.
thank you very much.
What's that, just vote second over.
Just a question, comment on Washington Avenue. They put a traffic light on Washington and Sterling Street, which is great. But now I notice that the cars are just, they stop and they don't wait for the light to turn and they just keep on going.
Great.
So it's like, yeah, thank you, but without the enforcement there, what's the point?
It's a great point. I mean, we hear this. We actually had somebody from the Leopards One, come talk to us about something very similar on that block, and trying to get traffic calming, trying to put speed humps in, which again, perennial, like every month after month after month. It's a good request. We need to think about changing the process because we are not getting through to DOT.
We're not.
That's a commercial strip and there's a lot of there's buses, they're not gonna put bumps
Strip,
there.
yeah, they're not
They're
gonna
not gonna
restrict
do
it, but
that.
if they
That's
can
not
explain
fair.
it.
No, but like,
speed there.
it's
And they
you're
don't
asking
need
for an
speed,
enforcement
yeah, I mean,
item.
I live right there on the corner, so I go past it every day. Personally, I haven't seen that much violations. I've seen people I've never seen anybody violate the new light, and I go past it every day.
But-
But you cannot put a bump there.
Oh, even if
No.
there's no bump, just a camera that
Yeah.
that helps.
So
with
the
thing.
state
twice.
authorized, I think they went from 150 to 600 red light and speeding cameras to be implemented around New York City. I mean, a lot of that is the discretion of the DOT.
Can you see a map of where they put those? I have a feeling that they
Well,
end up in our
Part-
community.
Partly it's DOT, but it's also partly, I think they always try and change it into a funding question where we don't have the money to put it there. Again, this goes back to engaging the council members in terms of, listen, these are the priority areas.
Sure.
For traffic calming measures, we need these additional speed cameras if we prioritize, we identify the locations. And let's just make sure that that's documented in terms of, no, this is the request. So if it's a budget issue, resolve the budget issue, let's do this and get it done. Because I don't believe it costs that much money to get these things done.
And it should generate money.
And that's the point, yeah, I mean, the city, they don't do this for free, there's money that gets generated. Okay, I'm sorry, so that's
That was it.
That's a good point.
That was it.
Linda, you have a
Thanks.
question? Alright, so did you have a question?
Yeah, a few things actually. So the B12 does run east to west along Parkside and then Clarkson. Is that the one that you were saying is only rush hours or?
There's a new proposed bus route, the B10, which would run on Empire, basically
Okay,
from
okay.
Prospect Park Station to Broadway Junction east.
But I just want to flag that the B12 is in our district.
But then it cuts up.
B12? No, it cuts down to, it goes across, well, from west to east, it goes across on Parkside first and then cuts down to Clarkson, after, I think, Rogers or Bedford or something.
Yes.
And
After
I just wanna flag that it's gonna be an
Clarkson,
issue
Clarkson.
because with Vital Brooklyn
Wait a second.
building thousands of units on Clarkson to the east, the environmental impact statement there said they were gonna have to run a lot more buses. And that part of that route is very narrow, so
Well,
Some
I think,
places-
yeah, that's
something
the big
that-
problem with a lot of the east-west routes. Cause there are very few in terms of major thoroughfares. The B12 is famously blocked up. If you double park a car there,
yeah.
Nothing's getting
On
done.
Parkside between like Ocean and Flatbush is
Oh, yeah.
extremely
Yeah.
narrow.
Yeah.
But when it gets to Clarkson, it's a little wider, but still. The second thing, I don't know if you saw, there was an article in Gothamist about stagnant pools of water at the curbs in Flatbush. Paco got quoted on it, but they're all over in the community. You know, my corner has that issue too, and they were saying that DEP was saying it has something to do with the way DOT grades the streets, which I think is true as well. Can we get them to fix things? Like, should we just call 311? Is this a broader issue? Cause it's nasty.
the 311 complaints are always good. Here's the thing, go back to the old familiar chant. 311 complaints are good because it creates a number. So in other words, not one complaint, not two complaints, not 5, not 10. There's 100 complaints on this. And I think that's the kind of data that needs to be brought again to the elected
Yeah.
officials where it's like, you need to push on this.
I mean, our street
Or if
was,
there's a problem with coordination, then perhaps we need to bring, DOT and DEP come in here, let's get into the same room and let's talk about what is the challenge that's stopping you from doing this. Where DOT, if DEP needs to be a checkpoint for DOT before they do any construction, then let's do that. But otherwise, it makes no sense, cause it's like they're digging up and cracking up streets all over the place, but we still have the same issues every time.
I think many of us have had our streets remilled, and resurfaced in the last several years, but somehow it,
Well,
And actually,
floodwater-
it gets
floodwater
worse.
goes
They add
with-
a couple half inches of tar every
Yeah.
now and then. But there was a capital project on Rutland and Winthrop by Wingate Park.
Right.
That involved, it was a capital project to regrade the street and enhance the sewer catchments.
because
So I
there have
would-
been like major sewer issues.
Yeah, and there was a particular issue of like particulates, and they weren't able to filter stuff out, so stuff was like leaves and dirt and crap were getting stuck in the filter basket before water could even get in and drain out. So they did some redesign a couple years ago, and I can't remember the details off the top of my head. But it's a capital project. It's not a regular operations yearly milling thing, which is what we've heard from DOT in the past. However, if we're doing capital work anyway, for example on Washington, there's the proposed Classen Triangle project. They could also consider doing a better job with catching water there. Like, they could put things together in a way that is economically feasible.
Right.
And then your other point about population, anticipation, demography change, etc., for bus routing, I think that's a really good point. I don't think it made it into this resolution. So, I would love to present this for the May full board, but I would anticipate that people would have things to add and that we would actually vote on it, down vote in June.
And that's the perfect segue. So I did have a conversation with Ethan, and that's what we came up with. And this is kind of in line with what we were saying before. Because a lot of this stuff, sometimes it's hard to say, vote on this is good for us and everything like that, when we're gonna be challenged, especially this month, because between the transportation meeting and when we're having the exec and when they're getting this, it's gonna be very tight, and it's kind of hard to expect everybody to say they understand it, or that we're gonna be able to allow sufficient time for a conversation. So the plan is similar to what we're doing with the other presentation for land use, for that framework, is that we present the issue, it's presented as before the board. We announced the fact that there is going to be a subsequent transportation committee meeting where there'll be an opportunity for additional conversation, changes to happen there, or if you wanna ask more questions. So that way, by the time we get to June, hopefully we've given enough time for the board members to digest the issue. And hopefully it's not a lot of conversation on the floor, maybe some changes here or there that can be made either at the Transportation Committee or minor amendments, but we're able to get through a little bit quicker. I think it's something that in general we want to get into better practice as a board, because I think we've seen it on several occasions where sometimes I think some of the topics can be dense, where it's like, people have questions and it's not easy for them to do it, and we don't necessarily have the time to allow for that. So that's what we're going to do for this month. So to Andrew's point, thank you for doing that today. When we get to the agenda setting, we're going to put it on there for a presentation. We're going to announce that it is going to be an agenda item again for the Transportation Committee, with a final vote expected to happen in June.
Again, I have to sit there and say that the community is being left out of this. There has been no hearing. Most people don't even know that this is coming. The fact that it was on a committee meeting's agenda nobody attends that except for the small group of people. And I think again, you are planning and this proposal is really going to make a major change in the community. The community has not had any information. There's no hearing that was set, no notices given out to the community about what this is. And yet we're just gonna move on along as if the community doesn't matter, like a hearing doesn't matter. We don't need to let the community have any input. And I'm not saying that the community is going to say no to these proposals, but they should be told what is about to happen in their community, especially when you're talking about cutting a third of services in this. This is gonna have a major impact, and then you're gonna have people who have no idea what's going on, that's gonna start complaining, you're gonna get all the calls, like, why isn't my bus stop there? So.
And that's part of the reason why we want to make sure that the presentation is to let people know that this is a conversation that is happening. And to the point that
What
we say,
presentation?
what we just heard about this this presentation that we just talked about the framework that.
Yes.
So why can't you guys do a hearing? It's the law anyway, you're supposed to do a hearing once a month. Why can't you sit there and do a hearing on this? This is a very important issue
Right.
for a lot of people. They depend upon these bus services.
Understood.
And the community should be notified, and the community should have an opinion about it, and the community should be consulted, and their views, and not just the views of 3 or 4 people in the community.
And that's the reason why there is a presentation in open meeting at the board, and the invitation is going to the community to come to the Transportation Committee, because we have a fuller opportunity to have that kind of conversation. And from that level, the Transportation Committee is fully capable, I'm sure.
I mean, they've already made their decisions. They didn't even hear from the community have made their decisions. So
Well,
where does the
they-
community
they
fit
did
into
it in
all
open
this?
meeting, and again, to the point where,
But people don't pay attention to the regular
Well,
committee meetings.
Right.
Most
But-
people don't
Right.
even know where CB9 is. Like,
Right.
unless you do a lot of hardcore flyering like we did for this
Right.
last meeting, people don't pay attention. And a lot of them don't have email, which we found out once again.
40% of our population does not have email, so that means 40% of the population of Dante's emails does not hit our community, and yet that's the 40% who will be using the bus, because that's the poor, we are a poor community, and it's our seniors that will not know about this. And I don't understand why there seems to be such a disconnect between the fact that we should be sitting there, including the community, informing them, having a hearing, getting testimony, and then they go and make their recommendations. But, why isn't the community ever considered it at this board? It's like.
Can I just say, with respect to these bus network changes, they already blocked off most of Flatbush Avenue and Park Slope, so there's only one lane left in each direction. And it's a
And
complete,
downtown.
complete
Horrible.
disaster.
Mess.
Whether you're
Horrible.
driving or you're on the bus, it now takes twice as long. And God help you if you're going through at the same time as a sanitation truck, I mean, I don't know how that works.
Emergency vehicles can't get through.
I don't know how that works.
And that
It's
is
just
some
a whole
additional
other
conversation that I'm
truck.
actually reaching out to my counterparts as well. And this is quite on purpose, and we do need to move on. It's quite on purpose, because originally when they brought this up, I spoke with a number of my counterparts along the corridor, and we had a conversation with DOT, and we're like, this is nonsense you're doing anything like that. We had a full conversation like that. They paused the project. I think they regrouped a little bit, and when they came back, they said, we're not gonna have a borough-wide conversation about it. we're gonna do it on a piecemeal basis, so that way there's no organization in terms of, okay, well, you're doing all this stuff on Flatbush, like it doesn't affect CB9 coming over here, like it's not gonna affect 14 and 17 when you get further. Is it by design? I will leave that for people to make their own judgments on. But we can still make sure that we are engaging on this one, but I mean, I don't want to say agencies sometimes they have their modes of operation in terms of if they get their marching orders from a higher level. How to speed these
Where
things
is CB6 on this? Have they, have they had hearings on this? Have they?
Probably not, because I think the way they moved on this, they paused it and then they just restarted it very quickly, and I think they just tried to limit the amount of conversation.
So
But
the
that's-
presentation is supposed to happen tomorrow?
There's going to be a presentation with regards to the framework that to the principles.
And when did the community get notice that there was going to be this presentation? Did the community get noticed? Okay, nobody's back.
Is it a presentation or is it that you're reading this at the
Just reading the
Okay.
resolution like
When?
tomorrow.
During the
During the business
after, during business?
during the public session.
And just a quick note,
During the
Dante,
public session? I'm a little confused. Before the public session, because the public session is devoted to 3 minutes.
No, that's public commentary.
Okay, so where's the public
We
session?
have presentations that happen before the public commentary. They will be presenting during that period.
And they don't even talk in layman's terms. How are people supposed to understand them?
Understood. We will allow for a couple of minutes, but the idea is this is not a conversation or not a vote we're going to do tomorrow, because we know that there is additional conversation.
We want to get more feedback on this.
And
Genevieve.
that's-
Yeah, and how did you manage, how did you
Okay,
want
okay,
to
okay,
do
okay,
that? How
let's-
did you
let's-
do that? I mean,
okay.
what did you do to
Okay,
do that?
we
If
do
you
need-
wanted it, what did you do?
Okay, so
But
so
I'm
listen.
asking a legitimate question.
I
He said he
understand.
wants to have more,
And understood. And what I'm
you
saying
know,
is
what did you do?
part of it is
What did you do?
it's
Nothing then. Okay, so if you want something, then you do something about it. If you
Okay.
don't want something, then you
And
don't
we
do
will
something.
look-
So don't
and we
tell
will
me
look-
what you wanted to do when you didn't do anything in order for it to happen.
So thank you very much. So we're gonna move on that. Are there any other committees? that-
I had an observation today on Flatbush and Empire that there's a lot of buses that discharge people.
Mhm.
And this time it was a handicapped person that was discharged. And I don't understand, why did they do that? Why did they discharge? And then you have so many express buses that comes through and very little local buses that come through.
What do you mean discharge? They
They
remove
just-
the person?
Everybody gets off the bus. Everybody
Oh, like
gets
they
off
had
the
like
bus.
an issue on the bus and everyone had to go.
No, it's the end of the
It's
line.
a terminus, it's a terminus
No.
stop.
It wasn't the end of the line?
No.
No, and they do, but they use Empire Boulevard as an end of the line.
Yeah,
Right.
that's I thought it was against the rules to discharge handicapped. We'll check that.
What you see?
When you say
Let's
discharge,
get that. What do you mean?
I think you're right about
Are
that.
you saying
Yeah,
the
right
bus,
about
are
that.
you saying that the bus suddenly said everybody out?
Yes.
It's
Whatever
common
it
at
is.
Empire.
Yeah,
That's
Empire,
common.
Empire is a term.
To kind of switch over to another bus because that
There's no other
driver
bus.
may be ending.
No.
Yeah, or whatever
Yeah.
reason they do that. Empire is like
Yeah.
the place where
Okay,
they
well,
make
listen,
everybody
I-
go.
I
But I know
Let's
you're
take
right,
this
you're not
offline
supposed to
because
do
there's nothing we
that.
can really do in exec. I wanna
I
understand
just
what
wanted
the
to bring
No,
that,
yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, let's
and I
talk
can
this
show you
online.
pictures of it.
And that might be something that Dante, we might be able to look into that.
Right, okay, right,
From an
okay,
office perspective.
cause that wasn't nice, yes.
No, alright. Any other committee reports, any other committee chairs reports? Alright. Okay, so we are now gonna move on to the agenda. Dante, you have the administrative check-in?
Yeah.
Safety, there's nothing for safety.
No, public safety design, and we have no, SLA items.
Oh, okay. Well, I had some safety situation, but you didn't need this yet, or this one?
We didn't have one.
Okay.
We did not.
All right, so the MTA will be holding interactive workshops to build upon their ongoing outreach for the IBX. As we continue to get those notifications, we'll put them in the e-blast. The next workshop that they're going to be having is May 30th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. East New York Arts and Civic High School at 800 Van Sicklen Ave. No more coins. At a later date, which has not been published yet, buses will no longer accept coins as payment. The exact date will be shared ahead of time, Instead, customers can tap and ride, use their Omni phone, contactless debit or credit. Omni cards can be reloaded with cash or coins at Omni vending machines in subway stations or at participating retail locations near you, like Walgreens and CVS. If there are local business retailers in the area that you all think would be good candidates to join the Omni network, you can nominate them. This is important, so people don't have to walk all over the place. So if there are locations, like reach out to us. We have the link. We'll put it in and we'll monitor it. And it's no cost for the store to participate. So share that.
Is there any support to the store? I
if
mean, do
we
they
get-
give them
if
a
we get-
space or something,
I'm
like
sorry,
give them money?
I don't know. I believe that they just put the machine in there, but I'll ask to see what additional benefits
We can hold all questions too.
businesses get to be a vendor. All right. Next up, the city plans to reduce speed limits in selected areas throughout our district. Following the enactment of Sammy's Law of 2024, DOT has the authority to reduce speed limits below 20 miles per hour on individual streets. Street reduction will happen on Eastern Parkway between Troy and Schenectady Avenues, Union Street between Bedford and Rogers Avenue, and then they are also going to reduce it using new school slow zones. That is Kingston Avenue between Winthrop and Rutland Road, and then Rutland Road between Brooklyn and Albany Avenues. A couple of public hearings that are coming up. This is kind of for you, Felice. Thought about you. The proposed rule, DOT is proposing to change the administrative code to update the citywide truck network. They will be holding a public hearing on June 9th at 10 a.m. We'll put that information in the e-blast. I know that you had mentioned about putting a no truck sign on Washington.
Yes.
I want one
I'm
too.
getting pushed back. Okay, where?
Fenimore between Flatbush and Bedford.
Send it to me. Send it. I'm getting pushed back. I'm not the only district manager either, so
Okay.
it's a situation. So, yeah. But I want to let you know that that public hearing is taking place, so if you're able to make it,
Okay.
let them know that
Show my
they should add more
pictures.
signage.
Yes.
It's a situation. The Rent Guidelines Board is proposing rent guidelines for October 1st of this year through September 30th of next year. The Rent Guidelines Board next meeting will be held actually on Thursday, this coming Thursday, May 21st, at 9 a.m. at Spector Hall 22 Reed. The public is invited to observe. If you have comments, you can email ask@rgb.nyc.gov. The deadline to submit comments is June 16th. The proposed numbers are as such, 0 to 2% for 1-year leases, and then 0 to 4% for 2-year leases. The next meeting for the Rent Guidelines Board that will be in Brooklyn will be June 11th at City Tech from 7 to 10 p.m. at 285 J Street. Just a couple of administrative things. The community fair is coming up at St. Francis School for the Deaf on June 6th from 9 to 12. We have over 70 vendors that have signed up, so please come out, get the information. It's free. Bring your friends, bring your families. We are also partnering with Assemblymember Safran Forrest, Councilmember Hudson, DSNY, and the LES Ecology Center. We're going to be holding a recycling event that we do every year at the School for the Deaf. It's going to be on July 7th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll blast out the do's and don'ts, what you can and cannot bring as we get closer. If you are a small business owner, if you know someone, SBS is distributing a World Cup business toolkit because this is a great opportunity to draw in some revenue for the World Cup. So if you know anybody who might be interested in that, have them reach out. We can forward all that to them. Our general board will be tomorrow at MS61. All right.
All right, questions for the district manager. Kat?
they're reducing the speed limits down to 20 on one road streets in this district, multiple streets. Even if there's no school nearby.
Well,
What is the like? How long is the duration of that speed limit?
what do you mean?
Is it
Like,
not,
is it
is
going
it
from
during
Eastern
school
Parkway all the way
hours?
to church? Is it going?
Oh, well, it doesn't say that in the notification, but I will find out and report tomorrow. I'll report it after general report.
And it's already decided. Like, there's a date it's going to be in effect.
They actually did not put the date that was going to go to effect in the notification, so we'll find out. But I'll make the report tomorrow.
Do those speed limits count for bikes too?
It did not say
I'm
that.
tired of the bikes
On the-
flying past us.
So, I don't
It's
believe
not
so.
that. Bikes need to start being considered, and I watch them go right through those red lights and expect me to freaking stop.
Mhm.
I'll get the freaking ticket.
Yeah.
And they won't, and they'll cause an accident.
Exactly.
In both directions.
Yep.
I mean, it goes both ways, right?
Yep.
Gee whiz.
That one flip over my car. I promise you, I'm gonna keep going.
Alright, I'll find out tomorrow, let you know.
Okay, Ms. Almore, any questions?
No.
Please.
Quick question, is there any way to ask MTA whether or not for the Omni, let's just say that a senior citizen loses their Omni card,
Okay, yeah.
they have to go in person to one of the locations in order to replace it, but yet everything else is online. Why can't they just replace it online?
That's fair, fair.
Because then someone who has like two seniors and one of them lost their card has to like drive people around to get this thing.
Okay, that's a good question. Just do it online and send it. Okay, I'll find out.
Any questions?
No.
No, Doss. Alright, just a very quick question with regards to the speed limits. Did they give any information in terms of how they selected those sites?
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting.
No,
Why
no,
this
they didn't. My presumption is the new school slow zones is because they're doing the bike lane work around that. So that's that attachment. That's that attachment. The other speed reduction, they didn't say why they selected those locations.
If you could send a letter and just request what is the criteria for them in terms of the sites they select,
So what are
or that they may potentially select, because I don't think that's the end of it. I don't think so.
Okay.
And if they're gonna do that, are they gonna
Sure.
open their bus lanes then, instead of making bus lanes being up until 7 p.m., like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., it's a 12-hour bus lane. Other areas get it like broken up, people who's go in the bus lane between like 3 and 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's so unfair. 20 miles per hour on Rogers Garden and Nostrand Avenue, are you kidding me? We'll be on that avenue for an hour just to go 5 blocks. This isn't LA.
Queens on Hillside Avenue, there's
I know.
no time. There's no time. It's the whole day, 24 hours. You can't go in the bus lane, which is ridiculous.
Where's this?
Where?
In Queens.
Okay.
Queens. Yeah, it's a mess.
They don't have to. Well,
Yeah,
I got an area. They don't
has
have
there,
to traffic.
people have complaints about that the fact that we have those times. And is there anything that this community board could do regarding that?
The bus lane times?
Yeah. Why do you need 12 hours? 7 to 7?
Pushing a lot of people. I don't know. I think that we
Because the
can
moment that
definitely
you
ask.
go into another community, it stops. You can tell when you're changing community boards.
Yeah.
You can tell because all of a sudden, everybody in that lane can now use that lane during non-rush hours. So why isn't this community board pushing for that?
I have an answer.
Okay.
My unofficial answer is that they are really just trying to push us out of this community because everything has become inconvenient. If it's taking the bus, if it's getting on the train, if it's the train, the elevators don't work. It's funny, but it's not funny because if you look at anywhere else, it doesn't happen anywhere else. It's you're getting now I'm happy that they're taking people for not moving their cars, but they're going crazy. It's like 5 minutes after. It's like give them a ticket. It's the pushing out of people. I was reading an article about Flint, Michigan, with all the water and everything. All of a sudden, all these people had to move out of their communities because the infrastructure wasn't where it's supposed to be. And then now, if you look at the housing prices up there, have raised about 60%.
Yeah.
So that is that's the reason why. I'm sorry, that's not very.
But don't forget the islands in the street too, new islands that they're putting in.
Well, is there anything that this community board can do as far as being able to change that?
It's the ask. Here's the thing. I mean,
Well, I think you gotta ask the community if they want to change first, right?
Right, so you have a hearing, so you have a
They want to
hearing.
change first.
and just to say this.
And what committee would be in charge of that?
Well, here's the thing. It can go to
Transportation that just only works on bike lanes?
Well, it can be transportation, or it can be a matter of, listen, I mean, I think as a community board, we can have that conversation directly with DOT. Sometimes, and just to say this, sometimes there are rules that made sense in the beginning when they first did it, but don't make sense anymore. So it's absolutely okay for us as a community and as a board to ask, whatever assumptions that you had in the beginning, are they still there, and is it possible for us to make a change? Because I know we had that stretch on Rogers where we do, I think it does something where that's the 12-hour zone. Is that the 12?
No, Rogers, thank God Rogers has a break. There's only rush hour.
Right.
7 to 10 and like
And
4
it's
to
good
7.
for us, but it's good for us to ask the question, and I don't know, I don't know.
Yes,
I
on
know
Rogers
Rogers
is
is
12 hours.
zone.
No,
Well,
Rogers
no,
is a
just a
12
piece
hour zone when
specific
you get a
between
foot, yeah.
Empire
Because we're
and.
tiny,
Yeah.
because we're between Empire and Eastern Parkway.
Yeah, but on the other side it's 12.
Well, here's the thing,
When you get into
the only thing I would
Crown
hazard a guess is, Rogers does narrow a little bit between there.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility,
That's
but
fine.
rather than tell you what I think, it's better to just say DOT. What is the reason for that? And is there an opportunity for us to reconsider in terms of, can we ease that up just in terms of the parking? So that's a fair
So on
conversation.
the south side of Rogers is 12.
You guys
No,
know.
so
Yes,
if
it's
you cross
12
over
hours.
to like Crown Heights, literally on the other, you cross Eastern Parkway,
Yeah.
that's when it breaks.
Empire to Eastern
Now,
has a
The only
break.
reason why I would say this, the only issue I would say with that is, I think it's because the bus lane, because the street narrows, the
It's
bus lane
street,
is
it's
there,
narrow.
so that might be an answer.
Mhm.
But let DOT give us the answer, and let's see if there's a better way to do it.
Okay.
So, all right, so if I could ask you to just, set that conversation up. Let's see. Okay. All right, any other questions for the district manager regarding his report? Do you have any action items for your,
Just that letter. Okay. Send it out.
all right, we'll take care of it. All right, for my chair's.
Can I ask a question of the district manager?
Sure, for
Last week, over 400 people came to that hearing. Is there any position that CB9 plans on taking in regards to that hearing? I mean, was it just so that you could hear from the public and that's it? We're just gonna drop the ball? Will CB9, as a result of hearing from the community, and I do appreciate the fact that you guys did a town hall regarding this, but are you planning on taking a position on the shelter? As you are representing the community, you heard from the community, you heard what the community's concerns are. What are you guys gonna do about it?
So as I begin my chairman's report,
Oh, okay. So it's not for you, it's for the chairman, okay.
all right, as you brought it up, we'll start with that then. So with regards to the Empire situation, the shelter. Obviously, there's a lot of things that went wrong with the way the city handled this whole process, between the notice, between the lack of engagement, between the lack of information, between the lack of transparency, between a whole bunch of things that went wrong. I wanted to try and make a statement earlier, just to kind of put a stake in the ground, but one of the things I didn't want to do is because we hadn't even had any conversation with the community, I didn't want to speak for the community in the sense that we didn't have a chance to digest. Now that we've had that opportunity, I think part of what we're seeing out of that is that there's a lot of conversation that still has to happen before anybody can even say something intelligent about this. I want to be very clear. I don't begrudge the fact that a lot of us are one paycheck away from being homeless. So I don't want us to ever be that hard-hearted to say that people don't deserve a chance, a place to stay, and a right to shelter and do that. But at the same time, there are conversations that should be had in terms of what the appropriateness is. I think there are other issues that were brought up during the town hall as well, in terms of fair share.
Mhm.
And especially the location where it's at. And I think there was just a lot of groundwork that should have been laid and conversations that should have been had before that letter ever got sent to us. So tomorrow, I do want to introduce, as you know, part of one of the action items is I do want us to send a letter saying that they need to postpone any action on this, and they need to have several things in terms of this information that was requested with regards to fair share. That fair share assessment needs to be done. I think they need to make sure that there's clarity around the impacts in terms of there's a number of other facilities that are in that district. So is that the appropriate place to put it? Are there other places that it should be put? And I think there are a number of other questions that need to be answered before that's in the conversation. There is that lawsuit that is happening that has frozen a lot of stuff too, so there is no rush to put this in here. But I think there are a number of questions that we have to answer, so that is something I do want to put before the board as a vote as part of my chairman's report tomorrow. I think it's important that the board speaks on it. I was thinking about writing a letter, but I think it's important now that we've had this town hall, we at least speak as a board. Not to say that we have all the answers, but to at least say that there are a lot more questions before I think goes forward. So that's the first thing I want to say with that. Give me a second.
And just for clarity, the shelter is actually closed. The 250, the Bellevue shelter is already closed. So they've already removed that population and have already put it into Project Renewal's other sites, okay? The 5 sites that they put it into, 4 of them are controlled by Project Renewal. So that means is that this emergency actually doesn't exist because they've already relocated them and spread them out into other shelters. So I just want you to be aware of that.
Thank you for that information. And there's certain information that, but here's the thing, I'm glad you're giving me the information, but DHS and Project Renewal should have been the ones giving us that information.
Thank you.
So I shouldn't have to go out, to the intrepid neighbors who found out the information, that stuff that should have
Not
come
only
to us.
that, where's our elected officials? Y'all keep yelling about community board, which like I get, but how much can volunteer members actually do when it comes to those that are being elected in and come into meetings to show face and ask requests to be re-voted in?
Thank you.
That is my biggest problem when it comes to this community. Our elected officials aren't doing anything. They're not showing up. They're sending their representatives. They're saying 3 points, come to this event. But when all of these changes are happening that are affecting the community, those that are supposed to be representing us and those that are getting paid from our taxes are not doing their due diligence. That's where the real question should come in.
And I think that.
I concur.
They're listening.
Well, listen, and I think that was the good thing with the town hall, where I think the neighbors got to say that for themselves, and I think it was important that they got to say it for themselves as opposed to the board. So they got it directly from their constituents, and I think we're just going to say we heard them loud and clear, and let's just make sure that everybody else heard them as well. And we're going to make sure that.
But how are you going to communicate that to the elected officials? Should you not be asking them to at least take a position on?
Well, here's the thing. We need to take a position first, and then it becomes a matter of the elected officials. Are you going to back us or what?
Right.
That becomes a conversation. But we need to do that, and we just.
Although they should have needed our backing. They know this community. They know what we already have. They know things that are being planned that we don't know about.
That's correct.
Yeah, but it's still went forward, which tells you that there's a disconnect somewhere. But I'm not going to necessarily get into that aspect of it. But as a board, we did our due diligence and we heard from our neighbors, and I think it's clear that this is not something that we need to come here. There's a lot more conversation. Let me go through. I just want to make sure we're able to go through it. I want to make cognizant of the time.
No, I just had a question about what you're talking about. Are we gonna do a formal resolution for the board to vote on the meeting tomorrow?
I'm trying to see if we can get a resolution. I want to get a resolution because I really think we need to state out the pieces. And I apologize, it's just been tight time frame because it's whirlwind, everything is coming. So it's going to be a little bit tight in terms of the language coming, but I did want to at least give the notice that there is going to be something saying, hey, to on this. And there are a number of reasons that are going in. And the board will have an opportunity to do some wordsmithing in terms of adding or the language and correcting is not accurate.
Well, I do appreciate it. Thank you, Fred. I appreciate it. I'm sure the community will appreciate it as well.
Thank you for that.
Question, comment. I do have questions after the meeting, like things that came up, and I'm just gonna email them to you.
That's fine. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Very quick hits. Also, so the appointments were made last month. Dante had announced it, so it came right at the tail end of the April meeting. So we do have turnover, and there are new board members that are coming in.
From tomorrow?
As of tomorrow, there are new board members. So I just want everybody to expect there may be some walking through some things that we normally do as the course of business, because we're gonna have people who this will be their first time being, and because the way the process is, they get thrown into the fire right off the bat. And I do not believe there's even been any orientations that have been scheduled for them yet. So just some patience as we go along. We're gonna take the time, we'll answer the questions, and there'll probably be some more, some more explanatory language as we're going through. But we're gonna make sure that they're welcomed as board members. For the new committee, the new board members, I'm not gonna assign them to committees. The intent is just let them just go see committees, go see where what's where. Sure. Just go to committee meetings, see if there's anything that interests you, so that way when we get to the point where there's committee selection at the end of in the summer, at least hopefully they have an idea about maybe where they want to get placed or where they're interested. Okay.
But remind them that if they don't choose a candidate tomorrow,
Yeah.
how about off?
No, you'll have that. You'll have that. Next, there's also going to talk about, members also want to talk about meetings, so of course, district manager advised, we have our meeting tomorrow, so please note, the meeting is tomorrow at MS61, as we are talking about the rest of the month as well.
But tomorrow, I didn't know you was making that was next week.
Yep.
So did
That's it. It is
I know
tomorrow.
that next week, cause I know read my fingers now.
I was like,
So please make sure we note that, and as a reminder, it is also going to change in June. Yeah. Because we almost
Yeah,
always
I don't
invariably
change.
land on primary Tuesdays,
Mhm.
so the
Yeah.
meeting is going to be the Monday prior.
Yeah,
Put it on your calendars, put it on your calendars, we're meeting the Monday prior, okay?
Oh,
Alright, Dante, do we have any schedule changes for committees, or are we straight?
Environmental Protection did change their date, I believe, from the 4th to the 15th.
Alright, do we have any other holidays or anything we need to be aware of?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the reason for moving it. We're like right in between Juneteenth and the primary, so, yeah.
Alright, so the main thing is just make sure that we all know that the June meeting is going to be on that Monday, so that's gonna be happening. The nominations committee has already been doing the canvass, so the board office has sent out an email finding out if any board members are interested in running for offices. As a reminder, sorry?
They sent it over already.
Yeah, it went out already.
Somebody lost my email.
How do you know what position you're running for? Because I got a call,
This is crazy.
I have no idea, but I just told them wherever I'm needed, just put me in a slot, but I would still like to know what that slot may be.
Well, here's the thing, so you run for an actual position as opposed to, you run for a position, so all the officer positions are open, so chairperson, first vice chair, second vice chair, executive secretary, treasurer, and then we have 2 members at large. Okay.
And a description,
Two.
Two.
I'm sorry, what about a description of each position?
The descriptions, we'll read them out during the board meeting.
Okay,
They are
so-
available in the bylaws as well. A conversation that is to be had is that the positions are not fully fleshed out, so to speak. So you'll see the chairperson is responsible for certain things. The first and second vice chairs are responsible for things the chairperson doesn't do.
Okay.
Secretary, that's fleshed out.
Yeah, secretary.
the second, because that's the most work.
Secretary's fleshed out. Members at large also serve, they'll take responsibilities as well, and they kind of canvass the responsibilities as officers as well. So now with that being said, that's an additional conversation if we decide in the future to ever flesh those out, that's an additional conversation, but we can give some additional description as.
I just thought, okay, I got the call, I was like, sure, just put me wherever you need me.
Alright, but we can actually talk offline too if you're interested, or you can ask questions or.
No, I guess it's still wherever you guys need me, I guess, whatever, not your position.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
But I think it's not about that, it's about what position do you think you could be effective in? But you see, that's annoying me, I know that whatever position that is available, I'm capable of. But they're all available, so you have.
They're all available.
It's okay, I stick by what I said, wherever you need me, just put me in, I'm
Tell me when you want,
capable.
so I can nominate you. Didn't talk after.
Okay, right, somebody should nominate her for a position, because you can't, that's not how this works, you have to. I didn't ask you, Alicia. I understand that, but I'm
okay.
just
Alright,
telling you,
hold on.
I'm telling you
Okay.
how it works, because clearly you don't know.
Okay, we're going back to
You
work.
can't just say, put me
Okay, Ms.
anywhere,
Boyd,
you
Ms.
have
Boyd.
to decide
Ms.
where
Boyd.
you wanna go,
Ms. Boyd, we're back in
because
order.
that's not how this works.
We're back in order, I'm doing my report at this point, I need to.
I mean, people just come on the
So-
board and don't know anything, and then they get upset when somebody wants to school them a little
Ms.
bit.
Gordon, I need to continue.
I've been here for 12
I don't think
years. How
anybody
long
wants
have
to be
you been
schooled,
here?
but one-
Okay, order of the day, order of the day. Listen, we didn't do the rules of
Before
order,
Dante put us out.
but listen, the one thing we do,
What is
one person at a time. Whoever has the floor has the floor. It's important that everybody else respects that, so we have the one voice, and then we can ask the questions afterwards, and we can allow people to ask questions in order. So that way we can get through this in an orderly fashion, make sure all the voices are addressed. Okay? Just a couple more points and then we're done. So I actually had a conversation with the district manager, and we're gonna be doing some outreach with regards to Downstate Hospital. So this is a conversation that happened from last year, and there was over $1 billion that was invested into Downstate. Like, put into the budget. And I will say this, there has been precious little in terms of communications coming from Downstate, which is ridiculous. It's unacceptable, I'll say that. So we are doing additional outreach in terms of making sure that we are kept apprised of what's going on. Because we, even though it's technically not in our district, we are part of the catchment, and we do have an interest in terms of what happens there and that quality care is being given. So in addition to the $1 billion that they said, we had already staked the position where that was only a down payment to what's gonna happen next. We are in the middle of another budget cycle, and we still haven't heard anything about what they're doing. So this is one of those things that we need to make sure that we are going after them and staying on them, because they need to be accountable to CB9, CB17, CB14, and all of these districts in Central Brooklyn.
Well, in terms of that, where are the state assemblymen and senators? Where are they? Tell us what's going on.
And all the
Yes,
No,
and we've
when
been
are they
told, they're
coming
in Albany,
to the
working on the budget,
to
working
let
on the
them know
budget.
this is the situation with the state, this is what's happening.
They're in Albany.
No, I understand everybody finishing the budget, but I think it's incumbent upon this community, but to ask them to come and let us know what's going on.
Well, and this is the
Maybe
reason
we'll
why,
let
you
you
know,
know
Mr. Manager and I are gonna be, we're expanding our call in terms of there needs to be, the same way that there was a lot of public engagement, that needs to continue, they need to continue that public engagement. So we need our people in Albany to say, listen, this is what's going on and these are the next steps. And if there are marks we're hitting, we need to know. And if we are not, we need to know. So they're
So
gonna
you,
handle
are
it.
you gonna be asking the elected officials for this
Absolutely.
information?
Absolutely. Let me just finish that one quick. Because really only a couple of months left. Yeah, so one, the other thing is just in terms of tools, because I know that we've been doing a lot of stuff, and I think there's a lot of data that sometimes is helpful to the committees. At the borough board meeting, we actually had a presentation from an organization called Data to Go. Data to Go, and they were very good in terms of there's a lot of different data sets that they're able to collect from a number of different agencies. So they use the New York City, they use open records, open data. They use federal data as well, state collected data, and they actually have a lot of great visualization tools that are great in terms of getting information. So I did get their business card, part of what I want to do, just because it was kind of tight, I didn't want to bring them now, but hopefully it's part of a training. We can actually bring them in, so we can show some of the data sets that they use, visualizations, so that way as we go back into session next year, we can utilize that data to kind of set some of the assumptions in terms of the information we need. How many residents do we have? How many veterans do we have? How many single families,
How many parking spots?
how many parking spots do we have, and it's things of that nature, because it's good for us to be able to go from that position of information.
So you're trying to train who?
This is mainly for the board members, but we're gonna try and make it available for the public as well. I think it's a public website, I think there should be public resources available, but the idea being able to get the data so that way it informs the conversations we're having.
So you planning on conducting a meeting with them, with the board? I'm a little confused.
Well, I'm planning on engaging them so that way they can train the board in terms of these are the way to get the data sets. So there'll be the transparency in terms of this is the data, where it's collected from, but it gives us a baseline in terms of if we're talking about things in CB9 that we need, this is the data that says this is the population, this is the demographics, these are the breakdowns, and this is why we need the things that we're requesting. So we're trying to make it something that, again, we're data driven. Going back again to the point, that's why it's important we put the 311 requests in, because it kind of helps us to scope out, is it a one-off problem or is it a chronic issue where you get 1,000 of these things?
And when did you plan on having this training?
Well, I just engaged with them this month at the borough board meeting, so we haven't, I got their business card, and that'll be a conversation I'll have with Dante and potentially the next chair, just in terms of that's a resource. That'll probably be for the next person, but just so we have that. that's all I have at this time. I know there were a couple of questions, we'll take those. Pat, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Ms. Alamo? Elise? Lana? Linda?
I don't.
All right, okay, again, so just the one action item I have, so I did want to put forward, put forward a resolution with Russ and her. So just we'll put that as on the agenda, and I'll have the date and the text out as quickly as we can get it out. Yes, okay, all right, so with that, we are now going to go on to item 5, which is setting the agenda for it. Okay, so public session. Okay, I'm gonna call the order. Call the order, rules of conduct. Presentations. We have no SLA for this month. We are gonna have a presentation for transportation.
Sure, presentation meaning a reading of the proposal.
Correct.
No
No slides, no slides, no visuals, animations.
Is there,
We
is there
can
any way, because of the language in which he uses, is there any way that it could be more appropriate for the audience so that, you know, a lay person can understand it? Is that possible?
Well,
Yeah, I could talk
Is
better.
it possible if you can just give a top level synopsis of what the proposals are?
Yeah.
And just even the information in terms of further engagement that we're gonna have, and just lay out the plan with that.
Yeah, so that way you could just, you know.
That's simple, then.
Yeah, because I understand, you know, the language might get a little bit denser, there might be some things in there that might not, so if we can just, and especially because I have the time limit, 5 minutes.
Okay.
So really just top line, if there, you know, we might try and take some questions, but the real conversation will be in the committee meeting when it reconvenes and when we get to the June meeting. All right, so transportation, principals, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry, there was, framework, right? Zoning framework. There'll be a presentation. Correct. All right, please keep those tight, we can keep those to about 5 minutes apiece. Some limited questions, but those will be voting items for June, we'll explain that as well. Okay, all right, after that, we are going to have public commentary. After public commentary, we're gonna have acknowledgements. After that, we're gonna go into business session. Business session, we're gonna have a roll call. We'll have approval of minutes. We'll have committee reports. Okay, as an item under committee reports, nominations. Okay,
Nomination report.
nomination committee. All right, so at this time, this is where we're gonna announce who's, who are gonna be who are agreed to be candidates for positions. And then we are gonna open the floor for each position. So anybody who wishes to run from the floor can say, I would like to run. That's
Nomination committee report.
correct. Okay. All right, once we've done that, then we are going to go to the DM report. Madam Chair, do you want to do a report for this month, or?
But well, yes.
Okay.
We agreed to do so.
No problem. Treasurer's report. And then we're gonna have the chair's report. And then we're gonna go the voting session. All right, so those two frameworks we're gonna vote on in June, so that I think the one thing we have is Empire Shelter Resolution.
I'm gonna go after that. Are we gonna go for it?
Once again,
That's what they working later.
Empire Shelter. Are there any other voting items else we need to vote on for this one? Okay, so we'll be so after that, then we're going to go to new business. Remember, for new business, we are just gonna identify items that need to be considered, they'll either be referred to a committee, or if we need to dispose of it quickly, we'll do it, but there's nothing new that we need to really seek. And there's no, there's nothing on change. Correct, and then we adjourn. Okay, all right, are there any additions or changes we need to make to the agenda as I stated?
Could we just keep this meeting really tight, because it's very impartial every time we go there. We want to do things, people running the summer to make us.
They're so rude. Yeah, they're so rude. I
That's
don't know
been,
why they have to be so
understand why
rude.
she got to be so rude.
well, let me just say something very quickly about that.
It's disgusting.
I've had a conversation with the district manager, and they are going to have they've had conversations with the school with regards to that.
Oh, you're gonna
But-
wait.
but hold on. The B side of that is, we need to stay tight as a board, because we do have a time limit. We are limited, there is a permit, these people do not get paid because we wanna have our conversations, or we wanna go long because we haven't figured it out. And they do not get paid because we want to have a meeting after the meeting in the auditorium. So I just wanna be very clear about that. All right, and I'm gonna be depending on the officers and the board, when the meeting is done, we need to vacate. Once you're outside the gate, meeting after the meeting is fine, you can discuss whatever you wish to discuss, but we have to vacate the premises by the time that permit is good.
Is there any way that you can extend the time?
Here's the thing,
Just asking.
no.
No.
Here's the thing, the meetings will go as long as we extend the permit. So we gotta cut it off at certain, in other words, if we said we're gonna extend the permit for 30 minutes, our meeting's gonna go the next 30 minutes, even if they didn't need to.
But you don't tell the crowd, you just
Right.
extend the permit.
No, I mean, here's the thing,
No.
I think we have more than sufficient time for us to conduct the business and to get out, because
Okay.
that's really what we need to do, it just means we have to stay tight on the agenda.
Yes, but she doesn't have to be so rude,
No.
she does not have to be so
Because
disrespectful.
No, I
on the flip,
And we're addressing that part of it, the
but on
rude
the
part of it,
flip,
but we
we
need to
look
make sure.
rude to them, because this happens every month.
And
So
that's
to
the key.
them, it looks like we're saying a big F you, forget our time limit, we're just gonna take as much time because we haven't gotten our ish together. Yes, their approach is rude, but we also look very rude to them each and every month we do this.
And
And we
therefore-
don't even say, we're sorry.
And their part, the district office has already addressed, but we need to make sure we do what we need to do and stay focused, okay?
Well,
Alright, so-
we're also not new to this
Well,
building.
yeah.
We've been there for years and we
And
haven't
we
had
have-
that
No,
kind of.
Right,
No, and
right.
here's the thing,
We've been here
I'll just answer that point
over
very
a
quickly,
decade.
but then we do need to move on,
Mhm.
but that's the point. We've been doing this for years.
Mhm.
So there is a certain point, I guess, there's a reason why they snapped, because it's like, y'all do this for years. So-
What about Mecca?
There's let's take, hold on.
Okay, no.
No, no, it's not, no, but that's another conversation. Let's finish this,
Okay.
again, let's stay tight, we're gonna practice
Right,
this.
stay tight.
Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as stated.
I just want a question before you adopt the agenda. Will we have a representative from the precinct present at this meeting?
I don't know. They are always invited, but I don't know if we will.
We're experiencing a lot of porch pirate on my block. I have
Okay.
video footage and all.
Let's discuss that separately.
That's community council meeting, 71st precinct council meeting.
71st percent is gonna be on Thursday,
Right.
of the
On
same
the
evening.
29th.
On the 29th.
On the 29th, they changed their date to the 29th, so if you wanna go to the
Alright.
public, please.
I will entertain a motion, okay, listen up, let's see. I will entertain a motion for, to adopt the agenda as stated. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Community. Okay, Felice Robertson, moved by Felice. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a second by Ms. Cat. Okay. Moved and seconded. All right, questions? Are there any questions? Okay, hearing none. Is there any objection to adopting this agenda by common consent?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please note, agenda is adopted by common consent. Okay, that is all I have. Is there any other business for us to consider at this time? Any other business?
No.
Okay, hearing no other business, we are going to adjourn. Remember, everyone, meeting is tomorrow. I'm counting on the board members to stay tight. You have to stay tight.